Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Card Talk, a podcast where we spend just a little bit of time talking about cards from Lord of the Rings card game. I'm here with my favorite allies, and I'm Dave Walsh.
And I'm Ted Manick, and I love talking about allies, so we're going to talk about them.
And I'm Matt Kell, blogmaster of CardTalk2018.com, where I review each ally in the game, one ally at a time.
That's phenomenal. As we continue in our Extravaganza month, let's explain to everybody what we did. First of all, Extravaganza here at Card Talk, we try to do something a little bit different. We still talk about cards, but we break from the usual format with one card time. And so this February, we decided to just send out a survey to just the Card Talk folks. We didn't get input from designers or from the community or from the patrons or other creators or whatever.
Yeah, we're selfish like that.
Yeah, that's how we do. And so we wanted to just see what we thought were the top in the game. And so, you know, we've kind of done a couple episodes where things were not so clear, and so now we're talking about the best allies in the game, regardless of sphere. And so we're not talking about the best lore allies and the best leadership allies yet. And so we're just talking about overall the best allies in the game. And so with this list, and I think with a lot of the lists, the two or three are pretty obvious that go on the list, and then arguing about who makes the last couple of spots is always the best stuff. So I think we get started there, and I am going to just rattle off all five of us thought that Core Faramir should be on the list, so I'm going to put Faramir on the list. Right?
Yeah, he's really good. He fixes a lot of problems for you.
Yep. And he's good solo. He's good multiplayer. He's just good.
I want to review these allies as allies only, but usually a good indication too is like, do they make a good messenger of the king hero?
Yes.
And I don't want to get into that entirely, but it's like, well, he makes a great messenger of the king hero, which I think is a good indication.
Right.
And post-staging willpower adjustment is always super handy.
Very strong.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's not limited. So if you can ready him and do it again and ready him and do it again, like there's definitely options there to do a thing. Yeah. And then four of us said Gandalf. I don't know who didn't say Gandalf, but it's whoever didn't say Gandalf needs to be summarily taken out. Oh, look. Matt, explain to us why you didn't say... Oh, wait. No, you did.
I did.
Okay.
He's
Mike,
my number one.
Okay. Yeah. You put Core first. So Mike is not here, so...
he can't answer for his card.
He can't answer, yeah. So I'm going to put Gandalf on the list, because Gandalf is universally just awesome.
Yeah, he's a core set ally, and he kind of fits in any deck where you're not playing him as his hero version. And every bit of his ability is useful.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And it's funny because, and I said this when we did the ally review, is that early in my card playing years with this game, I would usually just bring him out and do the 4 damage to whatever and call it a day. It wasn't until I matured in my Lord of the Rings-ness that I started, reducing my threat by 5 or drawing 3 cards. Like, he's just universally really good. So, it's good. The other one that 4 of us agreed on is the Warden of Healing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which
best healing card
it's
in
the
the game.
staple healing card.
Right.
Is Warden like? Are you playing lore? Yes, 3 Warden of Healing every time.
Right. Yeah. Warden of Healing. The only time to not play Warden of Healing is when you can't play Warden of Healing, right? Like a 3 Hunters deck. So.
Yep. Yep.
So. But yeah, so okay. So that's the top 3, and I think that there's probably not much argument there. Of course, niche arguments could be made about deck types and stuff, but like, that's good. Top 3 set.
Yep.
Now, the rest on the list become a little more, I don't know, tough. Somebody put Northern Tracker. Two of us put Northern Tracker. 2 of us put Furial. 2 of us put Treebeard. Quick Beam is on the list. Glorfindel ally is on the list. The Marksman of Lorien, Ted, I think, made the list.
Yeah.
Legolas ally, who is very good.
Very good.
So here's the discussion, right? Is Northern Tracker a top 5 ally?
Yeah. He is. He's like the quintessential location control card. He's expensive, but his ability is so good that his 1 willpower, like, it doesn't matter that he has to quest to do it. And if you have multiple copies, it's really, really good.
And if you don't need the ability, like, the combat stats are no slouch either. Like,
I've had him block attacks, and he attacks for 2, so yeah. That's a good point.
I just think that as the card pool has matured, the Northern Tracker, while still maintains its good, especially in multiplayer, its good status, isn't as required as you move on. There's I don't want to say better ways, but there's a lot of competition in that space for location management. And that's why Northern Tracker didn't make my list. But the 2 votes from the group that have the Northern Tracker on the list came from Matt and Ted. So
we've spoken. I have spoken.
Yeah. So, like, I'm not going to put the Northern Tracker on yet, but I do agree that, like,
but you're going to put him on now. Great.
No. Okay. And so, like, what about Furial and Treebeard? Like, we're talking questing. Like, Furial made my list.
Is really good.
Yeah.
Pretty much anytime I play lore, Furial gets a single copy, and like, true solo, getting to choose if you're going to take that first encounter card or not is huge, because you can just skip over some really bad ones or ones that just surge. It's like, yeah, why deal with the extra effect? And then multiplayer, like, it's not as good, but it's still
still good.
Yeah.
It only, like, the time it's worse is when you have 4 players, because then it's only 25% of your cards. But solo up to 3, but it's still good. And usually someone's playing her in a 4-player game, and you're like, okay, awesome.
Right. You're not upset if you play her, and you're not upset when other people play her, right? Like,
you're really happy to see her hit the table.
And Ted, your requirement of being an MOTK hero, arguably the best
requirement, but like really strong, right? And you can't say that about Warden, for example, but it doesn't matter. But Furiel is an excellent MOTK target, which is a good sign.
Probably the best MOTK hero, right? Like, I don't know. That's what I would say.
Certainly top 5 MOTK.
Yeah, probably top 3 at least.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not going to put Furiel on there yet because, again, I think there's some room in here. What about Treebeard?
Also good because of his neutrality.
Yeah.
Just
like he
too.
Literally can go in any deck and has great stats and has an awesome ability. Even if you don't play Ents,
right?
He readies himself every other turn.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Treebeard solves a lot of problems that I have. Meaning, like I don't have any friends and Treebeard's there to talk to me. No, no, like Treebeard, I play hobbits a lot, and Treebeard solves hobbit problems pretty easily. Treebeard solves Sylvan problems. Treebeard solves, um, just that pile of stats. You need an archery soak. You need, like it's just so good. And
Yeah.
so, like Treebeard, it has to be considered there. And the funny thing is Northern Tracker Furial may be considered like in the same category, but Treebeard is kind of kind of in a different category, like bucket of stats, right? Like,
Yeah,
so,
and if you are playing an Ent deck, you can use them to get some Ents out faster, and even sometimes Redding himself isn't always like if you have a booming Ent that attacks for like 6,
right,
you might ready that instead of himself.
right.
Yeah.
It's funny because I almost prefer to play. I do prefer to play the ally version over the hero version, in an Ent deck. Like the hero version is no slouch, but the hero version doesn't necessarily like
It doesn't
same thing.
synergize
it doesn't
with the
have
other ends.
yeah, it doesn't do anything to help you with the other ends.
Right. It's its own. Hero Treebeard fills a different role, right? And it's a different mechanic. You're damaging him for bonuses. It fits more with like Hero Glowin and Gimli.
Right. I don't know. So, is there any one of those that sticks out? The Northern Tracker Furial Treebeard that like sticks out before we get into some of the one-ofs? You're still on the Northern Tracker?
Northern Tracker. It's just...
You think it's that good?
Yeah, I mean, the next closest thing is like Outrider, which is also very, very good. For one less resource, but it doesn't hit all the locations. But no, it's just the location control is so essential, even in 2-player. I know you guys play a lot of solo, and it's not as bad, right? Because you can kind of overcome the locations usually with just willpower. But even just in 2-player, you gotta get rid of some look. It saves you so much.
The thing about playing solo is that usually, like if you're playing Sylvans, you can do it with like the Woodland Courier or something, or put
and you have
Asphalloth
Hilarion, Asphalloth. Yeah, there's plenty of other ways
because
to
Asphalloth can go onto a Sylvan hero too. There's no reason not to, or maybe a Noldor here, but whatever. The point is that if you're playing elves, you put Asphalloth and life is good, right?
Yeah, true. But it's just, Spirit Out is no conditional. You just play Spirit.
Okay.
Well, you need probably at least 2 Spirit heroes to do it. But still, I think it deserves a spot.
Northern Tracker over those other 2.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's. I'm still gonna wait because we have to discuss a couple.
We can discuss some of the runner-ups, I guess.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, like Northern Tracker is the best at what he does, but the Northern Tracker doesn't have to necessarily be like that. Mechanic may not make it. What about Legolas Ally? Like Legolas Ally is card draw in the sphere that you need card draw that doesn't have card draw. Like,
and he's 3 ranged attack. I do have him in one of my he's a hero. I use him for MOTK too because he's like really good.
Yeah.
I don't use him in every deck with tactics, even though it is still decent card draw, just because it's 4 cost in a sphere that doesn't have a lot of resource acceleration. And usually I'm fighting for space when I'm playing tactics. So I'm just like, all right, I need enough people or willpower boosts, or I'm playing 3 hunters and it's all attachments.
Well, and that's funny that you say that, is like, because that to me is some of the reasons why I don't play Northern Tracker. Not the the resource thing, but there's so many really good spirit cards that like a lot of times I'm fighting for space for spirit, for spirit cards. Like a lot, like this is the problem with tactics always kind of staying so like there's very little sphere bleed with tactics, right? And so like there's so many good tactics cards that do what tactics does that Legolas may not make the cut because of all the other tactics cards that are there. So I don't know. It's I'm starting to lean towards Northern Tracker, but I think I don't know. Legolas, I think you're right. Legolas does not go on the list. Let's
still
not,
very
strong. Honorable
very
mention,
very runner up type thing.
Yeah. But so I'm just gonna do this here just to get that. And then there's I'm gonna cross off Giant Bear. I think that was Grant exerting his attack and defense thing. Although it's good, I don't think it's like awesome.
And if you're going to go for a big, beefy ally with large attack, like, why would you not pick Bayorn?
Right. And then I think Micah put the Durndingle Warrior on there, which is, but
really good honorable mention. I used quite a few days.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be an Ent deck, and it's a good defender. Ted, you know that, but like I don't think belongs on the top 5 list.
Right.
I could see a place for Quick Beam, like pile of stats, readies himself when he comes into play.
Yeah,
but
it's also lore, which is kind of usually a willpower poor when it comes to allies who usually
and attack poor. Like he attacks as strong as like a lot of starting heroes. Yeah. So it's really good.
Yeah. Does Quick Beam stay in the discussion on the list?
I think he's going to be
no.
I think he's going to be a runner-up.
Okay, and then how about Glorfindel? I purposely skipped over one of these because I want to, but Glorfindel will Glorfindel is great. Pile of stats.
He's good, and his ability to play him from the discard pile is good, but it's like I'd rather pay 5 for Firiel, right? When I consider the value. Well, there's lots of good, and you can reduce his cost though with a lot of things. With mostly
Smoke and Think.
The song, the sea shanty song, whatever it's called.
To the sea.
That's the one.
The sea shanty song. Well, Smoke and Think also works, but so Glorfindel off the list, Quick Beam off the list, Durndingle. So Ted, you put the Marksman of Lorien on the list.
Yeah, and
which I think is a phenomenal pick for the list because of what it does. So what's your reasoning behind it?
Yeah, it's just like because it is only 3 cost, like you can play it on turn 1 with a mono tactics deck, and then it's just 3 ranged attack, and its ability to produce can help kill a big enemy like that turn. Even just outside of like the Sylvan mechanic where it gets even better to play it with Thranduil and Celeborn and those type, but even just by itself, I'll be like, oh, I want 3 ranged attack. So this character.
And it's a warrior, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you can bring it out with Tactics Imrahil and the minus
very
defense.
Very good in Tactics Imrahil to just pull out 3 ranged attack and then -2 defense on something else.
Right. Like it's if you pick the same ally or the same enemy that it's attacking, you are in essence attacking for 5 the first round. Like it comes into play. Like it's and that's pretty good. Having said that, I'm not sure that I would keep it on the board with Treebeard.
Sure. Yeah, really I agree. Good. It's not. But it's pretty good. Like for being a non-unique ally, I think it's pretty good.
I think that's also its strength is that you can have 3 of them out. Like and just plug it away. So
Yep.
okay. So it seems like we have 2 spots for the Tracker, Furial, and Treebeard. That seems to be what we have. And Ted, you're gonna keep screaming about the Northern Tracker until you're done, right?
Pretty much. Yeah.
And I'm
Okay.
going to advocate a lot for Furial because, yeah, I just love being able to see the card and be like, do I want to deal with this? Yes or no?
I know, and I'm going to advocate for Treebeard. So what do we do? What do we do? Okay. Who loves the Tracker on this list? Ted.
I like the
Matt.
Tracker as well.
Who loves Furial on the list?
Yeah, I'm all
Yeah.
for Furial.
Also me though. Like, yeah, I think she's just
Over Treebeard?
Yeah, over Treebeard.
Yeah, over Treebeard. The main thing with Treebeard is that he comes into play exhausted, which is just a little too slow on some decks and some scenarios. So that's usually where I'm like, can I splash him? Yes or no? And sometimes like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, he's really good when you get him like turn 1 if you have like a resource accelerator, like if you're playing Arwen or if you're playing Grima or
Bond of Friendship.
yeah, Denethor. Like he's crazy in all those decks to play him turn 1.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I agree that he's strong, but I think Furial is just, even though you really can't play her turn 1 in any of those scenarios.
Yeah. But like I've gotten her out turn 2 and stuff with like Elfstone or Legacy of Numenor with a couple lore heroes. If you have Grima and stuff like that, you can do it. I think she's well worth that 5 cost.
100%.
Khalil's ability allows you to play, use resources and stuff, so you can. There's some shenanigans. Yeah, there's things you can do to get her out. A Grey Wanderer Khalil deck can get her out turn 1 because you can play Captain's Wisdom, exhaust him, get 2 resources, ready him with the contract, get the 2 resources.
Yeah. Actually,
and so like
Wisdom and like yeah.
So there's ways to do it, but so you 2 are happy with Northern Tracker and Furial and Treebeard as first runner-up, kind of.
Yeah.
It's
a close tie between those 2.
I would rather do Furial and Treebeard. So but you guys aren't going to let.
I would not be upset if Treebeard was number 5 over Northern Tracker. Like, I get his value proposition, right? And Northern Tracker isn't always the best in solo, but it's a good sign when an ally like spurs a lot of the late game restrictions from the encounter cards, where they're like, you can only, put 1 progress on this particular location in this scenario from the stagey area, or this they have to make
the Northern Tracker exceptions.
Yeah, it's like this.
Right.
It's tough. And like when I played minimum purchase decks, like I forgot, that's where I was like, oh, the combat stats are actually like really good again. And I tend to forget about that with the later card pools. Usually I'm like, oh, I would need attacking allies and stuff. And then later I was like, oh, you know what? I need location control. I'm going to put in Northern Tracker because I can afford the 4 cost in this particular deck. And if I don't have locations out, they're just going to attack. Or they could be the secondary defender for something that surges off that's like, a 2 attack orc or whatever.
Okay. So I did it. I put Northern Tracker there on the bottom of the list instead of Treebeard. I just think that Treebeard has to be, the
revised players will be happier with us because they have access to Northern Tracker, where they don't have access to Treebeard.
That's true. Actually, revised players don't have access to Warden of Healing either, right?
Right.
That's a crime that they did not put Warden of Healing in the Gondor starter deck, in my opinion. But I understand why from a balance perspective, but at the same time, like, A lot of the other healing options are just so more limited.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
I almost wish they had errata Warden of Healing and put it in as a Gondor starter deck than excluding it from the revised card pool.
Right.
Sure.
Like,
Yeah.
make it 2 among characters you control instead of, 1 from each to if you're worried about the Elrond boost. If that's what makes it overpowered. Like, I think there's ways they could have balanced it better.
Yeah, but the game's hard enough, right? So whatever.
Right. Like,
Get every
and,
tool in our arsenal.
exactly.
Okay, so it's funny that we have no tactics allies on this list. We have Faramir, leadership, Gandalf, neutral, Warden of Healing, lore, Furiel, lore, and Northern Tracker, spirit. I guess the top one that was fighting would have been Legolas for a spot there.
Yeah,
in
I think
tactics.
so. He would be. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's our list. The top 5 indisputable, highly scientific, and definitely not arbitrary list of 5 best allies in the game.
Right.
Okay, everybody, have a great day.
Do you love the content? Here's what you can do to stay connected. Become a patron. The money collected through Patreon goes into keeping the lights on here at the podcast. We love our patrons, and you can join at many different levels. Visit patreon.com/cardtalk2018. You can subscribe to us, whether you're watching our YouTube channel or you're listening to us in your favorite podcatcher. Hit the subscribe button to get notifications of all our new episodes. Didn't know we were an audio podcast? Find us by searching Card Talk to get access to our 120 plus regular episodes. Didn't know we were a video channel? Find us by searching Card Talk LOTR LCG on YouTube. And there you can find not only our regular episodes, but you can find our bonus playthroughs and other content related to the game. Want to get a hold of Ted, Grant, or myself? Feel free to email the podcast at cardtalk2018@gmail.com.